It's so interesting the when you put it on. So I'll just describe it to people. When I put it on, there was an avatar in front of me, and it was an alien woman. And the alien woman, when I moved my mouth, she moved her mouth. When I moved my eyes left and right, it's tracking my eyes. When I make like an angry face, like it makes an angry face. When you go like open your mouth, it's incredible. It like. You can see the evolution and the progress of this stuff where it's getting to the point where it's mimicking human patterns in a kind of a creepy way. But it's very cool.
Yeah, so, for me, this stuff is all about, like, helping people connect, right? I mean, the way that I got into this is, I don't know. I just started thinking about, like, what would be the ultimate expression of basically people using technology to feel present with each other, right? And it's not phones, it's not computers. Like, how do you get this sensation of actually being present, like you're right there with another person? And that's, to me, what virtual and eventually augmented reality are all about. And there's just this whole technology roadmap that we basically just need to go run down over the next decade to unlock that. So for the next device that's coming out in October, there are a few big features. I mean, the one that you're talking about, basically social presence. I mean, the ability to now have kind of eye contact in virtual reality, have your face be tracked so that way your avatar, it's not just like this still thing, but if you smile or if you frown or if you pout or whatever your expression is, have that actually just in real time translate to your avatar. I mean, that's obviously like our facial expressions are just a huge, that's like there's more nonverbal communication when people are with each other than verbal communication.
You had a really good point too about face tracking and like if you're doing like a FaceTime call, that you don't look at each other in the eye because you're looking at the camera to look in the eye and then you don't see the person. So if you look at the camera, you're looking up, and if you look at the look down at the actual screen, you're not making eye contact with the person. But this is able to recreate actual eye contact. With the avatar.
Yeah, no, this will be the first time really to do that. I mean, when we're using technology today, I mean, it's great to be able to make phone calls and video calls and all that. I mean, if you can't be with someone today, it's nice to be able to see their face. But when you're on a video call, you don't actually feel like you're there with the person, right? I mean, you get some signal, some information, you can see their face, but the whole time you're kind of trying to convince your brain that you're actually there with them, but your brain knows, right? It's like at kind of like a deep level that's you're not actually there with them. You're just getting some information about what they look like. And to me, what virtual reality unlocks is it basically really convinces your brain that you're there. I mean, when you're in there, you have to basically try to convince your brain that this isn't real, right? And that you're not present. So and there are all these just subtle signals and things that either deepen the illusion or break it. That each time we do a new version, we just try to break down a few more of the barriers. So, I mean, one of the big ones early on. Well, the first one obviously was just like having a headset and be able to look around, and for that, one of the key things that your eye basically refreshes, I don't know, call it every 5 milliseconds or something. So if you turn your head and the image isn't kind of refreshed to where you're looking within 5 milliseconds, then there's this huge mismatch between your visual system and your vestibular system and your kind of balance in your ear. And people used to kind of feel uncomfortable from that, right? Because it's like a physical discomfort because like what you were looking at didn't match kind of as you were rotating your head. So that was kind of the first thing. Then we got hands. And there was this whole thing that was super interesting there where at first we wanted to, display your whole arm, which makes sense, right? Because, I mean, it's you'd think, okay, it's a little weird to just see your hand. But it turns out that your brain is perfectly willing to just accept seeing your hand without your arm because your hand is the thing that it's trying to manipulate. And as a matter of fact, when if we kind of interpolated and got your arm position wrong, right? So we'd get into these cases where your hands were here and we'd sort of guess that your your arm was like that or something. And if your arm was actually like that, but we displayed it so that it was in like that, you're like, my elbow's broken. Right? It felt like really wrong. So it's actually much better to show a limited number of signals but get them right. And then you could just add on over time. So for previous versions before this, we didn't the kind of eye contact was all just AI simulated, but we didn't actually know when you were making eye contact because we weren't tracking the eyes. And now for this version and hopefully a lot of the different ones that we build going forward, you'll be able to have realistic facial expressions and more translated directly to your avatar. But there's this whole roadmap of basically how do you deliver this like real sense of presence, like you're there with another person no matter where you actually are.
It was very impressive because even when I moved my jaw side to side, I went like, it did that. It made the O face like, ooh. It's really interesting. And you were saying also that the way this is tracking is you're doing this without putting something on your body, without putting trackers on your body. But do you ultimately think that that's like, are we going to go Ready Player One where you have like a haptic feedback suit and you have to zip this thing up to get into a game and in that way you're going to be fully immersive? Or do you think that it can get to the point where it can mimic the movements of your body accurately without you having to wear something?
So I think that there will be opportunities to wear things to augment the experience further, right? So we already have these experiments with haptic gloves where you can if you touch a digital object, right? If you drop a ball from one hand to the other, you can feel the ball in your hand physically. And that's pretty cool. But I want to design this in a way where you don't need that, right? So today there's two primary modes of doing the tracking. I mean, there's this kind of notion of inside-out tracking. You're wearing the headset, and it tracks your motion, it tracks your hands. Eventually it'll track your legs with an AI model. And you can do that all with your headset. And the big advantage of that is you don't need to have a whole lot of different devices, right? Eventually you'll be able to do it without even having controllers. You'll just have the headset. The headset will get smaller. It'll be more portable. You'll be able to bring it around. You don't want to have a setup that has like 10 pieces, right? Maybe there are going to be times when you want to kind of have that sort of super deep experience, or maybe you have it at your home. But I think ultimately people are going to just want to have versions of this that they can bring around, and whether it's on an airplane or you're doing work at the office or you're going to a coffee shop or whatever. And for that, you really just want to make it work from the device.